I'm KWeatherholt from Victory Church in Lakeland. Prince Caspian is one of my favorite books in the Chronicles of Narnia series by C.S. Lewis. It tells of a remarkable story of faith. The youngest Pevensey girl, Lucy, is faced with a difficult choice between comfort and a leap of blind faith. She can stick with her siblings even though she knows they're going the wrong way, or she can choose to follow Aslan, but she's the only one who can see him yet. She makes the choice to follow Aslan, so her hesitant siblings can either come with her or let her go alone. Just like Lucy, we want that blind faith, but what does that mean? We're told to have faith, but how do we practically do that? First, we need to learn to trust, learn to persevere, and finally, learn to remember. First of all, we need to learn to trust God in every situation because we know that He has the perfect plan for us. I love how Martin Luther King Jr. states it. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. There will be many times in our lives where we won't know what comes next or where the next step is. You see, without faith, we will never make it through the tough times in life. The times where we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, where every door seems to be closed, and where everything looks bleak and hopeless. In Hebrews 11, 1 and 2 of the message, it states, "The fundamental fact of existence is that this trust in God, this faith, is the firm foundation under everything that makes this life worth living. It's our handle on what we can't see." Faith in God is our foundation. We may not be able to see the next step on the staircase, but with faith, we step out and know that it is there. God will hold us up every step of the way. We persevere and know that we stand on the rock. This leads me to my next point. When we go through trials, we need to learn to persevere. I love James 1:2-4 where it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work in you, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Faith without trials is not a mature faith. Our faith during tests produces perseverance. Not only that, but we are told to have joy in these trials. Faith is a journey. We are going to have highs and lows. There will be days where it feels like nothing can hinder you, and days where it feels like there couldn't possibly be any more roadblocks than the current ones. This is where perseverance comes in. It's going to mean some climbing, some letting go, and some hard work. When we go through hard circumstances, remember we only see a piece of the story. I love the poem Corrie ten Boom wrote comparing our lives to a tapestry woven by God. She says, "Oft times he weaveth sorrow, and I in foolish pride forget he sees the upper, and I the underside. The dark threads are as needful in the weaver's skillful hand as the threads in gold and silver in the pattern he has planned." Don't ever give up when you only see one little chapter of the story. Persevere even when everything seems to be against you. Finally, now that we know what it means to trust in faith and persevere, we need to learn to remember God's faithfulness in our previous trials. Can you remember a time in your life where God brought you through something big? Maybe every time you go through a similar situation, you remember that thing God has already brought you through? After every valley that we trust God in and persevere through, there is a peace, and we will always be able to look back at how our mighty God brought us through it. In Joshua 4, we see the Israelites crossing the Jordan River after a miracle had taken place to cut off the flow of the river. While they passed across the river, they picked up 12 stones to take with them to the other side. They used these stones for remembrance. They looked back at these stones, they remembered God's faithfulness. When God brings you across your Jordan River, never forget His faithfulness. When you reach the other side of the valley, write down what God did for you. Remember it. When you walk through another valley or when you stand before another river, contemplate on that victory you had seen before. Remember God's love and strength that brought you through. In my life, Jeremiah 29:11 stands as my stones. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Through every hopeless time I've struggled, doubted God's perfect plan, and almost let fear get hold of me, I looked back at this verse. In conclusion, we can have that blind faith just like Lucy. We can trust God, persevere through the trials, and remember God's faithfulness. In Hebrews 12:1-3 it says, "Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart." Today, I challenge you to boldly step out in faith and take a leap even if you don't know where it leads. Let the things God has already brought you through help propel you forward in perseverance, and watch God's amazing plan unfold in your life.